Hey guys,
I'm Hallee,
and I'm Jamie.
and this is Literal Nonsense.
Hello. So, we clearly have much things going on right now. Yeah, there's a glare in the windows. Don't. There's what it is.
Sorry.
Yeah, we're struggling already. Whenever we do something new, I think the world doesn't want us to succeed.
I know, right?
And so therefore, it holds us back. But we don't let it. Mm-hmm. So basically, we recorded the other night, only to find out that the whole thing didn't work.
Well, it did work. It was just the audio just wanted to glitch, and it just went in a loop.
And Ryan thought it was so funny that it got stuck on me saying like, because I say like a lot. And he was like that was lot? Actually, well, I say like a lot.
Like a lot.
Whatever. So, yeah, maybe that was like a message for me from the universe. Don't know. But anyway, so basically 20 minutes recorded, and then our video recorded great.
Yeah.
And then it was an hour of just like. So we can't put that out. So here we are during the day. But if you're watching video, our cute little logo behind us, there's a little bit of a glare. So it is what it is. Here we are.
It is what it is.
So it's a new year. It's a new us.
It's a new day. It's a new life. It's a new day.
Hallee?
Sorry. Is that Michael Bublé? And I'm feeling.
I think he also, but I don't think he was like the OG.
No, I don't know. Whatever.
I don't like this. Okay.
That looks nasty.
Thank you. I'm drinking a juice. It is nasty. So
I'm drinking a matcha.
I should have gotten that instead. I'm trying to be healthy again. New year, new us. So, anyways, point being is we are now live in person recording, which we love. We're going to be publishing videos of the two of us in our little makeshift studio that we have
in Jamie's living room
for now, which is why we have glare. But more importantly, besides for our aesthetic, is what we are now covering.
Yes.
And so hold it up for the ladies and gentlemen.
We have been waiting ever so patiently.
So we are covering Fourth Wing. Yeah.
This book is great. You need to read it. If you haven't read it, you're weird. If you don't like it, you're weird.
Yeah.
And that's just my opinion.
So, this book has taken the world, I would say
by storm.
Yeah. Oh, well. That'll be funny in, like, next episode.
Yeah.
Not even now. So yeah, I feel like everyone's been reading it. So the reason we're doing them now is because we've actually had foresight this time. And when we decided to make the podcast, it was because Crescent City 3 was coming out. And we were like, let's reread all the ACOTARs. In our reread, we were like, let's make a podcast. Then we had to like backtrack. We were super delayed, XYZ. Okay, fine.
So we didn't cover Crescent City like 4 months later.
Yes, because it took us forever. This time, because Onyx Storm, is that it right? Thank you. Is coming out. We decided to reread Fourth Wing and Iron Flame, but we're covering them as we reread them. We'll be like a little behind, like a week or two from the release because we have to read the new book. But it's like we'll be.
I'm sure we'll devour it. Yeah,
it'll be our coverage on the books pretty much as they're coming out, and we're doing this coverage as the world is rereading these books. So that's kind of our intention and our goal. So we are excited. What else? Oh, we're doing 2 episodes per book. So we'll have a Fourth Wing, part 1, Here You Are. Part 2 is next week. Then Iron Flame 1 and 2, Onyx Storm 1 and 2. We're back to every week releases, God willing, with technology.
Yeah. So today we're covering up to page like 261.
Yep,
and
chapters 1 through 21.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure 21.
And pages 1 through 261. Yes.
Yeah. So I feel like where we left off, like where we're gonna leave off at the end of this episode, is like where shit like starts. Like now the story really begins.
Yeah.
Because all this other stuff is like kind of just like setting the scene, you know?
It is setting the scene, but I also will say I feel like this book does a really good job of like even the scene setup first half of this book, there's a lot going on.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So I like that about our girl Rebecca Yarrow. I feel like she
gave us just enough, I think.
And it had me hooked from like the minute on. So basically let's just set some backstory before we go down like what happens in part 1 of this book. So we have Violet.
Oh, and then also too as well. Obviously we're gonna be talking like you've read the book. Because
you probably have.
Yeah, we're just chatting about the book, you know. So if you haven't read it and you don't want spoilers, then don't listen to us.
The only thing we won't say is probably like Xaden's second signet, because I just feel strongly about that for no particular reason.
A lot of people feel very strongly about that.
Because we don't know what it is. No, we do know what his is. We don't know what Violet's is yet. So, like, we'll also be theorizing in these episodes. We'll still do our normal episode breakdown, like going chronologically and just saying our reactions, but there will be spoilers, kind of similar to like an ACOTAR-ish episode. Just this is like our second time we're doing like a deep dive fantasy theorizing.
But we're not going to go like step by step of what the story is.
No, because we didn't enjoy that.
Yeah,
my brain hurt.
That's like really extra.
So that's kind of what you're in for. So here you are. So let's start with just a breakdown of like what this book even is. So we have our main character. Her name is Violet Sorrengail.
Violet Sorrengail. Yeah. She is our main character, and she gives main character energy for sure.
She gives main character energy.
Yeah.
So she's in a world. She lives in like a war college, and basically in this world, they have 4 choices. When they turn 20, it's called conscription day, and they can pick a quadrant to go in. So it's either the infantry, the healers, the scribes, or the dragon riders. Hello. There's an obvious choice here, I feel. You, like, probably most likely will die if you try to be a dragon rider, but, like, if you don't...
Well, that's the thing, right? So, like, it's giving very much, like, Divergent. Like, when Triss goes to... Dauntless?
Yeah, Dauntless. I couldn't even think of the name. Yeah.
Dauntless. I was thinking of the Gauntlet.
Oh, yeah. Dauntless is in
Dauntless
Divergent.
is Divergent, yeah. And... I feel like there's not much room to, like, create new things in fantasy. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You kind of, like, you have your fantasy elements. And so that may include magic, dragons, witches, vampires, you know, just shit like that. If you're into fantasy, you know, like, the main things, right? So one of the biggest things that I feel has come out with this book is that there's, like, this theory about how people think that the books are written by AI.
Yes, which we had joked about this texting each other when we first read it, and then all of a sudden we were, like, on TikTok, and everyone was saying it. Now, do I really think that? Probably not. But here's the thing. So, like, again, conscription day is very Divergent-esque. There's eventually, like, training, which is very Hunger Games, training gyms-esque. The main character, if you've read...
Red Queen.
I was, like, felt like I was repeating myself, but it was not. So if you've read the books Red Queen... Maven in those books is like frail, fragile. She has like long brown hair that turns into silver, like wears it in a braid, and has like a very specific power, which I won't name yet. This girl
is the same.
Violet, exact same, like down to like the silver hair.
Copy and paste.
So like that really was a hang up for me when I first started, because let me just first say I like this book leaps and bounds more than Red Queen. I didn't even finish Red Queen. I wasn't into it. Didn't like it. Yeah, I'm a loser. I'm a failure. It's fine. Are we saying boo to the series?
Booty you.
Oh, okay, cool.
I liked Red Queen.
I read the first like 3, and then I was like, I can't do it anymore.
I know.
So whatever.
You were like, take your books back.
Yeah, I was like, I get them out of my sight. So I guess my point is I like this book way more than Red Queen, but I started this book like pretty much right after I was trying to read Red Queen, and I was like, oh no, it's like the same character.
But Red Queen is also YA.
That's true. Like, yeah, this is done 100% better. But I just think
the writing's a little bit better too in Fourth Wing, I think. A
little. Jesus.
I didn't have trouble reading Red Queen though. But maybe
I felt like I was talking to a child.
Well, YA.
I just didn't like it. I also argue why authors write that way because that is their intellect, but that's besides the point. Not all of them.
That's crazy.
Okay, but to be fair, like, Harry Potter is like a YA book. I don't feel like I'm like talking to a middle schooler. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, they could still use normal.
Maybe because she's British.
Who?
The writer.
J.K. Rowling?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant, like, Red Queen, and I was like, so is J.K. Rowling.
No.
Okay, got it. Maybe she's more proper. Okay, fine. But, point being, is I just had, like, a hang-up right away with these books, just in the sense that, like, it was a mishmash of every fantasy book come to life. So, I got over that.
Like, pulled, like, little things from, like, each series.
Which, oh my goodness, my little cat running. Which, to be fair, like you said, like, there's certain things in fantasy, so, to be honest, there's not, like, you have to kind of take things, like, dragons are dragons, like, you know?
Yeah.
So, I will say, at first, that was kind of my, like, ooh, I don't know, but I got over that really quickly, and then it's, like, great. So, I think, push through, and I think the world that Rebecca Yarrow creates this book is, like,
unmatched.
10 out of 10.
Yeah. Also, though, with Rebecca Yarrow, like, if you're a big ACOTAR fan, she definitely doesn't write like Sarah J. Maas. Sarah J. Maas is way more descriptive, and I would argue she's more, like, flowery as, like, a writer.
I was use flowery as the word as
really?
well.
Yeah. Rebecca Yarrow isn't like that. Like, her writing isn't, like, la la.
No, but I also
that's
think
fine.
That's perhaps, if she did this purposely,
for this,
that's a testament to, like, she's smart, because this series doesn't.
Well, it's also extremely different than ACOTAR.
Require like ACOTAR, you need flowery, right? Because it's a lot of magic and, like, the Fae lands, whatever.
Yeah.
If you're in a dragon riding war college, I don't need flowery. So, like,
yeah, I imagine Fourth Wing having, like, that what's it, like, not a film, filter as, like, Twilight.
Yeah, even darker.
Yeah, a little darker.
Like purple.
Yeah. Like Game of Thrones meets Twilight. Like, if those like two filters had, like, a baby, I think that would be.
Ooh, I like it. Yeah, I like it. So that's kind of just, like, overview. Now, let's lay down the law here. What's going on?
Yeah. So
we have Violet Sorrengail.
Violet Sorrengail. So she has a sister, Mira, who's also a writer. She had a brother who died, Brennan, who was also a writer. And her family's very well known because their mother, she is a general for Navarre, which is the country that they're in. And Navarre has been at war with a neighboring country called Poromiel.
Oh, also, as Hallie's saying this, yes, you're right, but disclaimer, on top of the spoilers, we cannot pronounce anything. We don't mean to be disrespectful. We don't try to be mean. We just can't speak English. So that's that. Okay, going on. That was it. Quick little caveat.
Well, because that's also another thing, is that people were coming at Rebecca Yarrow saying that she was mad ignorant about, like, how to pronounce these names because of, like, the origin of the names.
A lot of dragons are, like, Irish and Celtic sounding.
Yeah, like I think it's in Scottish.
Maybe.
Like,
so I don't even. Yeah, maybe.
Like that general area, like that type of vibe.
Yes.
And people were gunning at her at TikTok.
Yes. So we're not trying to do that. We just don't know how to speak. So
yeah. Anyways. Yeah. So what's her mom's name again? Do we know her name?
Sorrengail. I don't think we learned it yet.
Maybe in the second book. Yeah. So her mom is, like, uber bitch. She sucks. She literally is
an uber bitch.
The devil.
Yes.
And so basically her father.
What? What? Come here. What the hell? Oh. We have a visitor.
Just love me.
Okay, well, as Hallie's talking, so her father, Violet's father, was a scribe, so he like wrote down the histories and all that stuff. Now, her mom, after Brennan died, he was a rider, as Hallee mentioned. All the riders have like cool powers called signets. Brennan's, he was a healer. Mira can like repair the wards that protect their like country. And her mom, I forget what her mom does. But anyway, so after Brennan died, apparently the dad went into like sadness,
Like a deep
disarray,
depression.
yeah. And so then the dad dies. So now all of a sudden on conscription day, which Violet's trained her whole life to be a scribe with her dad, on conscription day, she found out a little bit beforehand, but her mom's like, "You're going to be the rider quadrant."
Yeah, she was like,
was
"You
like,
have to." Didn't give her a choice.
Mind you, Violet's described as frail. This is like a test of like your physical capabilities at every step of the way, and like people just die constantly. I think like 400 people join, and I think like by the end there's like 70. So like you're most likely gonna die kind of situation. So yeah, so that's kind of.
But the glory of bonding to a dragon is
unmatched. So you take you. It really plays on your ego, you know. It's like, of course I have what it takes.
Yeah.
And then everyone dies.
Well, and that's a lot of like that's the issue that like Violet is having because she knows she's not like a tough. She's tough, but like her body is just small and frail, and she is not like these beefy, crazy people who are going out for.
Well, and they've been training their whole lives.
Yeah, and she hasn't. So she knows she's at a disadvantage. And so I feel like a lot of this first book, at least, she's struggling a lot with, like, imposter syndrome.
For sure. And so the book opens up with this. And we're like, oh, great. Keep it moving. So it's conscription day. And the first task for dragon riders is to walk across this thing called a parapet.
Yeah.
Which is like a stone balance beam on crack.
Yeah, above, like, a gorging ravine. So, like, if you fall off, you're dead.
Right. And so Violet's like, well, this is shitty. Her sister, like, helps her, gives her, like, some shoes, gives her, like, this cute, like, dragon scale vest, and is like, people will try to stab you, make sure you wear it. And I'm like, oh, we're really just trucking right along.
Well, because, like, they're also, like, kind of, like, against each other as well.
Like Hunger Games.
Because, there's only limited amount of dragons, and not all of the dragons go out to bond, like, every year. So it's kind of like...
survival of the fittest.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. So
Violet's walking across this fucking balance beam thing, and she's doing fine. She, like, slips a few times and is like, wow, this is terrifying. One of the first characters that we meet, like, in her little cadet crew is this asshole, Jack Barlow. And he's behind her on the parapet, and he's like, I'm coming for you, and he's, like, running after her.
Yeah,
and I'm like
mad weird. Right off the get, like, he's icky.
Yeah. Well, he's just, like, violent as fuck and, like, ready to kill everyone. On the parapet, oh my god, sorry, I forgot. On the parapet, he, like, waits for the guy behind him and just chucks that motherfucker off the side.
Yeah. Like,
so he's just a psycho.
Yeah, he's evil, sociopathic behavior.
Yeah, just literally straight up, like, serial killer vibes.
Yeah. But before Violet, like, goes to the parapet, her sister tells her to, like...
Yes.
She's like, don't make friends with anyone, and then find Dane and stay the fuck away from this guy named Xaden.
My cat is stuck in your sweater.
Oh. I help you.
So Dane is Violet's childhood friend.
There you go.
Jesus. And he's a second year. Sorry. Hallie's stuck with my cat. Okay. So Dane's a second year. He's Violet's childhood friend because his dad is
I think she just...
Oh no! She messed up your shirt?
Yeah, but I think she just scratched my boob. Like, hardcore.
Man. Please hold. We're checking out for boob scratches. You alright?
I can't really see.
Alright, well, you're gonna... If you start bleeding through your white shirt...
That will suck.
I'll let you know.
Yeah, let me know.
Alright. Oh, Dane. Jesus. So Dane is Violet's best friend.
Atos.
He's Violet's best friend. His dad is her mom's second in command. So they grew up together. They went to, like, all these, like, political parties and stuff together. They're, like, buddies. So... her sister's like, fine, Dane, he's a second year, he's a year older.
He'll help you out.
Also, like, Violet's, like, first, not, like, love, but, like, childhood infatuation. So we're like, all right, fine thing.
Yeah.
And then it's like, stay away from Xaden. Now, Xaden...
So immediately you're like...
I refuse to stay away from him.
Who's Xaden?
So Xaden Riorsan. He is the son of...
Think of, like, a Greek god.
Well, yeah.
And that's Xaden.
But, like, as far as his family, he's the son of Zen Riorsan, and he was the leader of, like, these people that were rebelling against... They weren't, like... I wouldn't say they were, like, a terroristic group, but they were, like...
There's, like, it's, like, a territory within, like, Navarre.
Yes.
And
they didn't agree with, like...
It was called, like, Tirandor, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I don't know, they were beefing, and they created, like, a rebellion and, like, an uprising. Yes. And the generals of, like, Navarre, like, shut them down, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And killed all the parents, and then all the children were, like, marked with this...
rebellion relic.
Yeah.
A tattoo.
Basically. That says, like, you know, anyone who you come across...
shamed.
Yeah, like, it's like wearing a scarlet letter.
Just really sexy, badass scarlet letters.
Yeah, so, like, and I feel like the vibe, though, of, like, all the rebellion children is, like, very, like...
Like, they're dauntless.
Yeah, they're, like, the outsiders, but they're, like, super sexy and, like...
Yeah, like, all of them.
Hardcore.
Which, I argue the riders, in general, are just like that, and...
They remind me of, like, a biker gang.
Yes, but one of the stipulations of these children of the rebellion is that they have to join the Riders Squadron to either A, prove their loyalty, or B, like, die. So, fine. And Xaden is the oldest of these children, and there's 107 of them.
Well, yeah, we find that out a little bit later.
I mean, I just know this, so I feel like it's good backstory, because I just read this, like, 5 seconds ago. So, cool. Anyways, there's a bunch of these fucking kids.
So, and they kind of, like, stay within, like, their group.
Yes.
You know, they don't really hang out with, like, the other people.
Right.
Because, you know, everyone everyone hates them.
Right. Because they're like, are you guys sketchy still? Like, do we, whatever?
Exactly.
Do you have a vendetta because we killed all your parents? Which, like, yes. So, Mira tells Violet to stay away from Xaden. One, because their mom killed Xaden's dad, but their dad killed Brennan. So, like, the two of them are, like, beefing because everyone's killing each other.
Yeah, so, like, their families got beef. And Violet's like...
Okay, because Mira basically is like, the second he gets a chance, like, he will kill you.
Yeah, so immediately, you know, if Violet already didn't, like, measure up to what she has to do to survive, like, now it's, like, 10 times worse. And for the first part of the book, she, like, is leaning very heavy into that. Like, she is,
which
like,
is right,
fuck.
I mean, which I feel like, yeah. Like, because she's
into,
like, unknown waters. So, yeah.
But I feel like everybody else, like, does a really good job of, like hyping up, like, not the aura, but, like, the name of Xaden, right? Everyone's like, stay away from him.
Yes. And so, yeah, before she gets on the parapet, she does run into him. And...
so she's drinking the Kool-Aid.
She is. And you've mentioned this a bunch, that, like, similar to Feyre, she knows who he is. And she's like, that's the most beautiful man I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah. So the first time she sees Xaden, so she crosses the parapet, she survives, so now she's a cadet.
Jack is right behind her.
In the Riders Quadrant, yeah. And she spots Xaden, and she describes him as, like, the most beautiful man she's ever seen.
Which is
the same thing Feyre said about Rhys.
When they knew they were, like, bad. Or thought they were bad, or whatever.
Well, she said that even before.
Well, yeah, like, they just saying, like, they, like, get, like, a... kind of like a intimidated vibe from these guys, but, like, they're describing them, like...
I like how, like, that's, like, the first...
Yeah.
Like, just completely, like, starstruck.
Yes. Which I was like, I now am starstruck as well.
The Earth is tilting off axis.
Which is how I feel reading about Xaden.
Yeah,
and then also, I'm sorry... You're telling me you have to see the most beautiful man you've ever seen and then walk across the balance beam? I would actually die.
No, she sees him after.
No, she's writing the names. Well, she does see him after again as well, but she sees him, like, right before.
Oh,
and he's like, go out there. And I'm like, that would be it.
Yeah.
Or do you perform super well because you're like, that would be so icky if I fell and he saw it? You know? Like...
Embarrassing.
It's kind of...
Yeah. Well, it wouldn't matter because she'd be dead.
No, I think that sheer embarrassment would keep me alive. Like, thinking of, like, this really gorgeous man seeing me fall off a balance beam, I'd be like, okay, like, I really can't die this way.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think that would keep me going.
Yeah. Well,
she does.
She does go.
That probably is why.
And she makes it. So now she's a cadet, and now she's, like, in the Riders Quadrant. She finds Dane.
My silence is heavy about Dane.
Off the get, me and Jamie had different feelings about Dane. She immediately hated him.
Yeah.
You hated him way before I did.
Yes. Okay. I would say I didn't.
Like way before I did.
I didn't immediately hate him. I hated him way before Hallee.
I think you hated him in like the 5th chapter.
Yeah. Well, okay. So for all of our Throne of Glass girlies, he gives me strong Kale energy, and you know how I feel about Kale. Oh no, you don't. We're gonna do those books.
I know how she feels.
Right. It's very widely
But
known.
most people don't like Kale, which
Correct.
is like unfortunate.
Okay, because here's my thing. We're gonna talk about Dane as we go on, like in depth. But they both give me that same like rule following, higher than thou, bullshit fucking vibe. So for example, spoiler for Throne of Glass, if you haven't read it.
They're just like goody two shoes.
Like Kale finds out that Aelin's a fucking assassin, and then he's like, oh, but you kill people? Yeah. And he's like, don't do that. And she's like, that's my job.
Yeah.
Like, whatever. So, Dane, again, we'll talk about all the ways that this motherfucker pissed me off this book, but we can start right now, because she gets in the fucking quadrant, she's now a cadet, and he's like, you gotta go home, Violet. Mm-hmm. Like, let's get you to the scribes. Like, you can't do this. And I was like, okay, I'm not loving.
I think I liked Dane in the beginning. The same reason why I liked Kale is because they give very much like boy next door energy. And right, like I do enjoy that trope. It's not like my favorite, but like I do like it. But then I end up like not liking it because then they're annoying. You know what I mean?
Right. And at the beginning, it was more of like he loves her so much he wants to save her. Like yeah, great.
He's her longest friend. Like, you know.
But I think Violet's internal dialogue is also what turned me off today in the beginning, because even in the beginning, she's saying to herself, he's known me the longest and he thinks I can't do it. Like, what does that say about me? You know, I need him to have confidence in me.
Like, yeah.
So her dialogue is also making me like, you're right, girl.
Mm-hmm. But like, I think that's the problem, is that Violet like doesn't know if she can.
Right, but it's not helping that the person you want to like hype you up is like, well, of course, you're gonna fucking die.
It's giving like Tamlin, you know, like you have to stay in the house and you have to, you know, can't leave the grounds. But again, same thing with Feyre. Like, you know, they want to go out and be more and do more, but like internally, they don't have that confidence. So they are also going back and forth, you know?
Correct.
So like,
I feel like... It's not helping for having a partner that's like going to repress you.
No, but I think, you know, the moral of the story in that case is like, you know, you kind of have to fight for yourself kind of thing.
Yes. And I also would argue that Feyre in the beginning didn't hate it right away, like being doted on or whatever. Violet is way more of a badass than Feyre like ever could hope to be.
Yeah.
Just even from the get. Like Violet, and in this series in general, just has more of that like fuck you energy. Like Violet's cursing people out from day one.
Yeah, like it's giving Bryce from Crescent City.
Yeah, even more so. I think Violet's like really like packs a punch.
Mm-hmm.
Like she like really says. Bryce gives me almost like, you know.
Bryce kind of gives like Mean Girls, but like
like Bryce is wearing hoop earrings and shit. Like Violet's just like putting her braid on and just like kicking your ass. Like I would almost compare Violet to more of like a Nesta-esque. Not as mean and bitchy, but like in the good attributes category.
Okay. In
my mind.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Bryce is like Violet's not putting on makeup. Mm-hmm. She don't give a fuck. She's just hot naturally.
Yeah, well then I would say that she's kind of like Aelin in that respect.
Okay, fine.
From Throne of Glass.
Yes, I'm down with an Aelin
but
vibe.
Yeah,
Aelin. Okay, so anyways,
that was long-winded.
Yeah. So Dane already is pretty much like, Violet, you gotta leave, and she's like, I'm good, brother. Like, leave me alone. So now they are all officially cadets. Now there's a various variety. I don't know what I was gonna say. I said both at once. There's a variety of things they have to do to, like, become riders. So their first activity, challenge, whatever, they have to do like hand-to-hand combat on these mats.
Yeah.
Which again, super Hunger Games.
And Divergent too.
Yeah.
When they're practicing.
Right.
You know.
I don't know why it was giving me more Hunger Games than Divergent, like right off the get in my mind. I don't know why.
I feel like it's more Divergent for me personally, but more Hunger Games in the aspect of like they're trying to kill each other. But you know, since they're like at this school, it's called Basgiath. Basgiath.
Whoa.
I'm just trying to think of like all the ways you could say it.
Wow.
That's like the college they're at, but like they're going to class. Like they have a few classes they have to do, and they have the training, like weight room. They're fighting each other, learning how to like use weapons.
Yeah.
So it's like they're busy 24/7.
And in practice, they quote unquote can't kill people, but of course, fucking here comes Psycho Sid and snaps someone's neck. I'm talking about Jack, just in case we missed that.
Yeah.
Snap someone's neck in practice, but once the real challenges start, like you're supposed to only submit them, but you can kill them.
Yeah.
So Violet, again, our little weak duckling we have, her theory is she signs up for kitchen duty and she starts poisoning everyone. Yeah. But like just to like make them weak or sick.
Yeah.
She's not killing anyone.
Because I think Violet, you know, she doesn't want to hurt anyone, but she doesn't want to die herself. So she's doing just enough to get by. But Violet's also super smart because since she was training as a scribe her whole life, you know, she gets up an hour earlier than everybody else just because I guess their schedules. And so she was like, okay, like if I'm up an hour earlier, I could do kitchen duty and then that will give me the easiest access to start wiping out my opponents. Because before she went across the parapet, Mira gave her this, or no, after. Isn't it in her books or something?
Oh, yeah, it's under her pillow.
Yeah, there's a book. It's called the Book of Brennan. So it's a book that Brennan wrote to Mira when she was entering the Riders Quadrant. And it's just like tips and tricks about like how to survive.
Kind of like, what was it called? Ned's Declassified School Survival
Guide. Yes. Exactly like that. And Jack Barlow is totally Coconut Head.
Oh my god.
But like, if Coconut Head was a sadist.
I hate that idea. I hate it. I hate it so much.
Anyways, but so she learns that she can find out who her opponent is going to be.
You got it.
For the next week.
So she's like, I'll poison them.
So
easy. She
poisons them, and she gets all the poisons from, you know, herbs and flowers around the college.
She's grown up here, so she knows like the land, whatever. And so on one of her little ventures to get these poisons to make her opponents weaker, whatever.
Just like sprinkle a little fairy dust over the scrambled eggs.
Right, exactly. She's up in a tree and there's a meeting and it's like Xaden and then his two best buddies are Garrick and Bodhi.
Mm-hmm. So immediately she's like, what's going on here? Because, you know, a group of 3 or more rebellion children is
illegal.
Illegal.
They'll get executed. I think 3 is okay. Yeah, more than 3, not good.
Yeah. So it's the 3 of them, and then all of a sudden all these fucking first years start coming out of nowhere.
Yes.
And she's like, oh shit.
And now she listens, and they're just chatting. Like, he's like, you tutor him in history, you help them in hand-to-hand combat. Like, all very helpful things. And so as she's listening...
He's looking out for his own.
Yeah, and as she's listening, she's like, this is not anything wrong. It's, like, not illegal, whatever.
Okay, wait, also, before we go on, I think this is, like, a key, like indicator of, like, how... You know, Xaden has this aura of, like, you know, he's the bad guy, stay away from him, no one likes him, like, whatever, but, like, everyone's also deathly afraid of him. But his interaction with, you know, his group of rebellion kids, like, shows,
his kids.
shows, you know, he cares, and he's looking out for them, and he wants them to survive. And all of the rebellion people have a completely different attitude towards Xaden than everybody else.
They idolize him. They, like, people have frequently, like, they just look up to him. They'll listen to what he says. Like, with almost, like, undying conviction.
Exactly. And then I think it's when Xaden takes Violet under his wing because of their dragons that she starts to realize that, because not only she's not spending like directly a lot of time with Zayden. I mean, like she is, but like she's mostly with like Liam and, you know,
other people,
Garrick and Imogen, and like, you know, so she's getting more of a wider picture of who Zayden really is. And then I think that's when she starts to like be like, what is really going on here?
Right. And this is the first time she sees him caring for others. And I think indirectly or kind of directly for her as well, because they all leave. She hops down and he like catches her spying.
Mm-hmm.
And he's, are you going to tell anyone? And she's like, no. Because she considers telling Dane.
Mm-hmm.
Hard ass for the fucking rules.
Yeah.
And then she's like, honestly, like, I'm gonna get them all executed for what? Like, he's helping them.
Yeah.
And she decides not to, and he's like, I owe you one. And he's like, again, at this point, she's convinced he's trying to kill her.
Yeah.
And so this is the first time they're alone, it's nighttime, whatever, and she's like, oh, like, this is it for me. And he's like, oh, I owe you a favor. Like, not even just like, I'll spare you your life, but like, now I'm indebted to you. And I think she's kind of like, wow, this is not the person that, like, I was told. Like, even that slight, I don't know, favor he owes her back, or like the conversation or slight interaction has her kind of like, huh.
Yeah. But this is also, I feel, where, you know, if you haven't read the books, it kind of flies over your head. But now that since we're rereading right now and like knowing all that we know from like the second book, this is almost like a first little sprinkle of one of his signets.
True. Yeah. So we will reference his signet, his second one.
Because I'm like,
we'll tell you hints. We won't tell you what it is, but we'll see if you agree if these are hints. But yeah, that part specifically,
you know, because she was up in the tree, they all leave, and she's like, oh, I'm good. She comes down the tree, and he's right there.
Right, so how do you find her?
You know?
Think about it. Yeah. So now they're kind of
and he takes her word.
Yes,
when she was like, I'm not going to tell anyone. And he was like, okay. Because...
Right. And he's not the kind of guy that would just, like...
be like, okay, and, like, moving on. Like,
right.
You know?
That's, like, a risk for all of his people. So, okay. So now they're... But even that interaction as first-time readers, there's definitely, like, tension. But, like, a good kind of, like, sexual tension.
Yeah.
So that's already starting. Okay, so now, again, she's going through her mat contest, whatever, her, like, little trials. She's doing fine. She makes it through that. Now, the next, like, little trial they're given is the gauntlet, which is so fun.
So, the gauntlet is, like, American Ninja Warrior
and
Wipeout.
Meets, like, death.
On crack.
Yeah.
And I'm here for it. So, they start practicing for the gauntlet. And once, okay, so they have, like, some time to practice, and then they have to actually do it. Yes. And they're timed and whatever. And then after that is when they go and they have their first meeting with all the dragons.
Right, so they have to, like, climb this vertical obstacle course wall. And it's
on, like, the side of a mountain.
Yes. And it's supposed to be, like, parallel to what it's like to mount a dragon. So all these little tasks are supposed to, like, you know...
Yeah. So everything,
some kind of trial for how it is to, like, mount a dragon. Yeah. So they get up this thing.
It's not just for fun.
Right. They get to the field and then they're, like, are gonna be presented to the dragon. So this is, like, all, like, kind of one big... It's, like, a big deal for their year. So
they're practicing for that. Dane is still trying to get Violet out of the Riders Quadrant.
Here's where I'm getting annoyed with him.
Yeah. I wasn't as annoyed, but I was like, okay, like, you know, what's going on? I feel like his role in the beginning of this book here is, like, to kind of be like, oh, what's Violet going to do? What's Violet going to do? Because he's so adamant that she needs to leave. And there's a lot of moments where she's like, I can't. But then in her mind, like, she says, like, I don't know, like, am I worthy? Can I do this?
Right.
Which I think does a lot to, like, show her character building through the book. Even though the second book, she was kind of annoying.
Yes.
But... Dane is, like, in contact with, like, the scribes and, like, teachers.
He's making, like, plans to get her out.
Like, he's trying to con her out here, and at each moment she was like, I can't, because my mother will either A, kill me, or she will throw me back here. So what is the difference?
As I mentioned, super bitch.
You know, but Dane's like, I just want to protect you. You can't do it, Violet.
So here, I'm getting annoyed, but I'm, like, not totally against him. And so Violet, again, small, frail, right? So she's practicing the gauntlet. The last two things, she can't get up. The day of the challenge, she doesn't cheat, but she uses her resources. Like, she uses a rope to climb the one wall. and then like the sloping wall that she has to get up, she like uses a knife to like haul herself like the rest of the way up.
Well, the reason why is because she has a conversation with Xaden, and Xaden's like,
do what you gotta do.
Yeah, he says like, there's more than one way to pass the gauntlet. And so she's like thinking about it, and she cheats but doesn't cheat. She's just smart as hell, and she makes it through the gauntlet. Mm-hmm. And immediately there's some drama because one of the other squad leaders.
No, she's a wing leader, Amber.
Oh, she's a wing leader?
Yeah.
Oh, so shit.
Wing leaders are like the top notch. They're like third year, like they're going to be like lieutenant kind of situations. Then there's squad leaders, and then there's like squads. So Xaden's a wing leader.
Dane is a squad leader.
Right, but they're all in fourth wing. So like Dane and Xaden are both of her like superiors. Yeah. But Xaden's like top head honcho.
So like Violet answers to Dane, Dane answers to Xaden. But Amber is a part of a different wing.
She's the wing leader though, which is like, so she's like, top of her class, whatever.
They're like the prefects in Harry Potter.
Yes.
So Amber's fucking pissed because she saw Violet use the knife to get through, and she was like, that's cheating, blah, blah, blah. And then Violet like quotes the Codex, which is like the book that they live by.
There's the Bible.
And she's like, yeah, I technically am fine. And Amber's like, you think like a scribe. And she was like, well, I am a scribe. And I was like, yes, this is good.
It was like a technicality, right? Like, she had brought that knife from home, and it says in the Codex, the knives or whatever you have on your person is considered part of your body. And she was like, that's part of my body, whatever. Yeah. And so even Xaden was like, she's got you, whatever. So here's where I'm starting to like...
Got him!
Yeah. Here's where I'm starting to like Xaden, because he's like, she's just smart. Like, you can tell he's like appreciating and respecting her for what she's doing and like kicking ass. So now Dane, where Xaden's appreciating her, he finds out later that she like used this knife and did this, and he like loses his shit. And he's like,
he's mad at her.
He is. And I feel like I want to point out that if she didn't use her knife at this part, the last trial of the gauntlet, it's either like you make it up or you die. Like that, like there's no... There used to be in training like safety ropes that you can like jump and like get down. They don't have those. So the fact that he's so mad, it's like you would just rather her die.
Yeah. Like, she made it.
So, okay. So that's how I'm starting to feel about Dane. I'm like,
weird. Okay. Well, and then I also feel as well, like, Xaden gives Damon energy.
Okay.
Dane's a little bit like Stefan, I feel.
I like this.
From like Vampire Diaries.
Okay. So which obviously me and you both.
And it's kind of similar to like how Reese versus Tamlin.
Yes.
Right? So Reese and Damon are very much like, I love you regardless of your flaws.
Which everyone has flaws, so it's like that's where we should be at.
Whereas like Dane and Stefan are like, we need to be the best we can be. And
I hate that like moral warrior bullshit. Leave me actually alone. So now once they pass the gauntlet, that wasn't that enough. Now they have to go to presentation, which is where they walk a field full of dragons that are like deciding if they like the humans. Because in this world, the dragons
choose the
rider, and it's like they have all the power, which I love that. Because I feel like in all these other fantasy books, I'm like, why would these big ass dragons listen to us?
Yeah, like in Throne of Glass.
You're like, what? I guess because they're like your pet, but like, I like this better. I do. I'm a big fan.
No, yeah. And even like later on when the dragons are bonding to Violet, there's like this whole uproar, but Xaden tells Violet the dragons have the final say.
Yes. So they have to walk through this field, and they have to walk 7 feet apart because they can get roasty toasted. Yeah, because they'll just decide, like, we don't like you, and they'll fucking burn you alive.
Yeah, so they're walking through. Violet and Rhea are just, like, talking about regular schmegler stuff. Rhea's sister had a baby, so they're just chatting about that. Jack Barlow is saying some fucking terrible shit about how Violet sucks.
This guy is the worst.
All this stuff, and like this other girl, Luca, is also joining in, and they're just like, you can literally die. Like this. And the fact that they're like taunting and being rude in front of the dragons, you have no common sense. Long story short, Luca gets burned to a crisp.
Love it.
Somehow Jack survives.
I think they like that he's like cutthroat.
I guess, but anyways,
because some of the dragons like have personalities and they're also assholes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. They reach the end, and there's this little golden dragon who is just so cute, and everyone's kind of like, "What is this dragon doing here?" Because that's not a thing.
Ever. Yeah, there's red, orange, green, blue, brown, black. And there's
like different tails.
They're just like different breeds of dragon, but not gold. And this one has like a feather tail, which is like they know is like this rare dragon like no one knows about.
Mm-hmm. And they've also like don't bond to humans,
right?
So. Excuse me. So, you know, everything is kind of like, what's going on? You know, Jack's being an asshole, and he's immediately like, we need to kill it. And you're like, why? Right off the rip. Why?
Because he's just a psychopath. So she gets through, she makes it through presentation, and then the next day is threshing. And so Violet, like, apparently at threshing, the dragons will, like, call to you. Mm-hmm. So she's like, okay, like, I don't feel anything particularly, whatever. And also, when you go to threshing, there's a risk that, like, no dragon will pick you. So, like, her little friend crew is, like, Rhiannon, Riddix, and Sawyer. And Sawyer's the second year, and he, like, wasn't picked at threshing last year. And so she's like, well, I, like, gotta try to figure this out. She feels nothing. So she, like, climbs a tree and sees, like, the little golden dragon.
Like, out in the distance.
Yeah.
But then she also sees Jack and his cronies. And they're plotting to kill the dragon.
Yes.
And
which, like,
Violet's
he, like, doesn't just say these things. He also, acts on them.
Yeah.
And, his, like, impulse is, like...
to kill.
Yes. So
she climbs down the tree.
Yeah.
She runs over to the dragon. She's, like, hiding behind a tree. And she's like, shoo, you gotta go. Which I thought was, like, hilarious.
Yeah. Well, this dragon's, like, chuffing at her, like...
Because it's kind of, like, high stakes right now. And she's kind of, like... Go.
Like, and the dragon will leave.
Yeah.
She's like, great.
So Jack and his crew come over and they're like, oh, we can kill two birds with one stone.
Like, two of the weakest links.
Yeah. And so they start fighting. She, like, throws a knife at him, hits him in the shoulder, fucking pussy boy runs away. But the other two are still there, and then all of a sudden, Scale?
Oh, I say Sable, whatever. It's Zayden's dragon. She's like a big blue...
She's a bad bitch.
Bad bitch, of course. And she's like vicious.
And she's vicious, yeah. So then Zayden comes and he's like watching it, like all this shit go down. And she has like a knife to her throat or something. Like one of
it's like the death blow is about to be delivered.
Yeah. And Zayden like moves to
like step in.
Yeah.
Which, in threshing, there's like not sacred, but it's like a rule that like no third year, second years, whatever, they're all watching, but like they can't interject.
Yeah.
And so the fact that he like makes this step, and like previously he also had yelled like behind you, whatever, that's like against the rules, but
maybe not as bad as you think.
Right. But when he takes this step, you also don't know what ends up happening because this giant black dragon like lands
and incinerates one of the other guys.
Yeah. And so, like, Zayden just like, flies off after that. And so does the little golden dragon.
Yeah.
And Violet's like, you can fucking fly. So now she's like with this giant black dragon, and she hears like a voice in her head, and he's like, get on. And you're like, what? Mind you, so his name is Tarn, which we'll learn. And so, like, he's choosing her. And she's so funny. Like, their dialogue is hysterical. Like, he's like the definition of like grumpy, and she's like sunshine. Well, not really, but like he's like the grumpy old man.
Yeah.
Like she's trying to be like, you don't want me. Like I'm weak. Like we shouldn't do this. And he's like, get on before I change my mind. Like,
so she does, and she flies back with him to the meeting center.
Just whips up in this giant dragon. Mind you, he's like the biggest dragon aside for like the general. His name is Melgren. He has like the biggest black dragon, which like is the largest breed. So two of them.
So everybody's like jaws to the floor when she pulls up.
Which like fuck them.
Yeah, and so she has to go to one of the scribes and give the name of the dragon to like write down that they're bonded. And he's like in her head and he has like this deep husky voice. And then all of a sudden she hears like this little baby voice, and she was like, and then Darna, like, my name is Tarn, and then it's like, and then Darna, like,
stop. Which I feel like is such like a perfect vibe for like the three of them as well.
So funny. So this is a problem, right? She's got two dragons. Yes. And Violet's like, do I say her name? And Tarna's like, say her name. And
she's like, you motherfucker.
Yeah, so when she says Darna's name, all hell breaks loose because everyone's like, what? You have two dragons? Like, that's unheard of. This isn't a thing.
Also, like, the little rare golden one. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, so everyone, like, goes away to, like, debrief and, like, try to figure out what's going on. And Xaden tells her, like, it's going to be the dragon's decision. And Dane, in the meantime, is like, you should pick Darna because, you know, you probably won't have to, like, actually do anything and, like, risk your life because you can't mount her and fly her.
Right.
And Violet's kind of like, fuck you. Like, what the hell, man? Because you're just mad that I have a bigger dragon than you. Not only the biggest dragon, but I have a second one.
Right. And, like, that just adds to, like, Dane's, like, low confidence in her. But she's now starting to be, like, having faith in herself.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I feel like she's making that shift, but he's, like, still, like, now, like, not believing in her, whatever.
Yeah. But the thing is, okay, so essentially they come back and they're like, yeah, she can have both dragons. But then Dane kisses her.
Yes. Well, because, yeah, like, I think it's because when they come back and they say that she can have both, he's almost like, oh, they do deem her worthy. And it's like, he's like, she's like good enough for him, which, fuck you, Dane.
Yeah, so they kiss, and Violet's immediate reaction is like, I feel nothing. Which,
so funny.
I feel like doesn't really happen in books. Like, the main character, even if they don't really feel anything, or there's not really a spark, they'll still, you know, just mosey along until, like, something big happens. They're like, all right, no, this is not it.
Yes.
But, like, from... like, very upfront, Violet's like, yeah, no, this is not, no.
I know.
This is nothing that I thought it would be. And she's, like, kind of upset about it.
Yeah, well, rightfully so, because she's been, like, it's like her childhood crush,
yeah,
you know?
Been pining for this man for years.
So, but also at this point, I'm like, okay, Xaden's, like, full go. Go, Xaden, go. Because, like, those were, like, the two love interests, to be fair. Well, even though, like, they're still, like, bickering and whatever, like, that's very much so, like, the two main guys. And so, yeah, I feel like...
But now the problem is that because Violet bonded to Tarn is mates with Sable.
Yeah.
And as we've mentioned, you know, if a dragon dies, the rider will die, but it's not always the other way around. So because the two dragons are mated, they have to be by each other or else they will die.
The two mated dragons, if one of the mated dragons dies, the other one will die.
Yeah, so that means the riders will die.
Right. And so if Xaden dies, like, Sagal probably wouldn't die, but Tarn almost died the last time his rider died. And so my cat is... Why are you doing that? My cat's scratching the wall like a maniac. He's, like, talking about dragons. I'm a dragon. Tarn almost died the last time his rider died. And so every bond gets stronger, which is why he hasn't bonded or wasn't willing to bond, because he's like, oh, no one's going to, like, beat that. And so now this is his, like, strongest bond. So now they speculate if Violet dies, Tarn will die. Then Sagal will die. Then Xaden will die, because anytime a dragon dies, their rider dies.
Yeah, so now it's like, this foursome is... Yes. And they can't.
And
something happens to one, they all are.
Right. So now what we're leaving off is, like, she's now bonded to two dragons, one extremely rare one, and now, like, Xaden's life is tied to hers, and it's, like, his responsibility, like, forced proximity to keep her alive. And so now that we have, like, this, like, kerfuffle going on, LOL, we're actually gonna end here. Haha, joking.
Tricked you.
Because it's ACOTAR all over again. We actually want to kill ourselves. Any main series that means a lot to us, the world hates us. So we have to figure out why the fuck technology hates us. And I'd rather us cut it here and figure that out. And also, it's like a good cutting point anyways. Yeah. I don't hate it. So I don't even know what page we ended off on. I'll let you know next episode. But we're going to cut it here that she's now bonded to Tarn and Darna. And Xaden's life is now tied to hers, and he's taking it as his, like, personal responsibility to keep her safe.
Yeah, which is the opposite of what he was supposedly doing this entire time, which is wanting her dead.
Right. So let's see what happens now. LOL.
Oh, how the tables have turned.
Right. So we'll see you guys next week for part 2, which is actually like now longer than part 1. I don't know what's going on. We're riding on vibes, actually. So
Yeah.
Love that for us. We'll see you then. All right. Bye.
Bye.